Alright, I'm going to do a video review today on why people are obsessed with packing horses when horses need to be strung together into a pack string so that they stay with their leader, with the human. And yeah, if they get off picket or get out of their electric fence, then they're hard to find, if you can find them, and hard to round up at the very least. It just seems like all the videos that I've been watching of goat packers, the goats are following them really well. And I know my goats love to follow me when we're hiking, and my sheep follow even better. So I just don't understand why, except for the over-romanticization of horses through Hollywood, why people are obsessed with going big and dangerous. I don't understand. For a survival situation, especially, it doesn't make any sense.
Why would anyone want to live on horseback? How can you navigate through all the private land?
On average, it takes about 4 minutes out of our travel day to pass through cattle guard gates. Some are hard to open, and all have to be shut afterwards. Luckily, there are only 2 that day. Some days are filled with opening and shutting barbed wire gates that add on to travel time.
It takes about 2 hours to gather the horses and
2
saddle them up
hours
and pack them for a day's ride.
to get ready to go.
We have 3 pack horses altogether and 2 riding horses. Travel days require a lot of effort and energy. When we get to the next camp, we have to do everything in reverse. And once they're unpacked, it's important to put them on grass. We picket the horses. They can have a negative impact when you stake out your horses because they can't go anywhere. Normally horses are gonna be free roaming and move across the land, pretty gentle that way, but we have to contain our animals because they will just leave us out of the vast expanse this land is.
As well as goats, and definitely not as well as
I don't want to
sheep,
chase my
dairy
horses,
sheep.
so we got to tie them down. And I think I'm professionally good at it, and I should be. I've been practicing a long time. You know, this took me 3 or 4 hours to make.
3 or 4 hours?
I gotta figure out, how do I get my bed over here?
It means you gotta sleep under a tent or a tarp.
And we had water come in right up to the canvas. There's still some there. So we had to build a little berm and guide the river into the fire. And we had to dig a hole right there so we could bail out the water with my coffee cup. And the canvas was leaking. Well, I woke up this morning without a horse. This one. Taka, what do you have to say for yourself? She decided she was gonna take off early in the morning and walk herself 9 miles back to where we spent the winter, just to stand there and hang across the fence from the old stud at the neighbor's house. It's not the first time she's done this.
So we had 2 horses get away from us and her get away from us. She has the boxes on. There was no boxes on the trail, so she has all of our food and whatever else in it. So we're gonna climb to the top of the mountain over here, get some service, call some reinforcements. But yeah, things could be going better. Hey, Bryn.
This deals with 5 folks that I knew pretty well who are no longer with us because horses are inherently dangerous. Love them as much as
That's
you
what I'm
want,
just now learning. I didn't know that, and I want everyone else to know that before they get into horses. I want to discourage people that are already in horses because they already know.
Without even meaning to be. The first
They can be dangerous without even meaning to be. They are dangerous without even meaning to be.
One day, he did what I did when I was his age, and that is I went out and I would go out and saddle my own young horse and work on it with nobody really overseeing me. So that's what this young fella did. And a neighbor saw the following happen. As he rode the horse around, he was trotting, maybe breaking into a lope around this large, nice, flat pasture field they had. and the saddle shifted, and it rolled to the side far enough there was no way for him to stay on, and he cut loose, dropped onto the ground, and being an active young guy, immediately sprang up to his knees. The colt was startled by all of this and began kicking at the saddle. One of those kicks hit this young fellow right here. Frankly, though we can talk about helmets, or you can think about helmets, this was one example where I don't think a helmet would have helped. Second person was a few years later, probably 5 years later, wife of a friend, experienced horsewoman. They were in the business of buying and selling horses. They had a horse at a sale, and somebody said, "Hey, would you jump on that horse and just ride him around before you take him in the sale ring?" Sure. They're out in the parking lot, big gravel parking lot. This lady gets a leg up, she's trotting the horse around, horse is doing fine. The horse had no problems that they were aware of. The buyer says, "Does he jump?" "Well, yeah, he'll jump." And my friend set up a pair of buckets with a stick across them, and this horse, who apparently would jump anything, was directed by his wife to jump that makeshift jump in a halter, barebacked, in a gravel parking lot. And he did nothing particularly bad, but he either refused or sidestepped. Again, I was not there. She went down, no helmet, struck her head, lived about 3 days. The most perplexing and disturbing of them all. Experienced woman, good horsewoman, long-time competitive trail rider on a good horse with a lot of trail miles. In our region, in the late summer, we're afflicted with yellow jackets, and they're a ground nesting, stinging insect. And if a horse steps on the entrance to one of those nests, they come out, they'll grab a hold of the horse, latch on, and stay there on the horse and continue to sting. And the brokest horse in the world will really get rattled by that. It's painful. I've been stung by them. And they don't stop stinging, and there's a lot of them. This gal was riding along a roadway. Horse stepped apparently in a yellow jacket nest. The yellow jacket swarmed on, stung the horse. The horse got agitated, understandably, whirled around, backed up, backed into an open box road culvert, a drainage culvert, flipped over on the rider under the culvert, or inside the culvert. She was wearing a helmet. Died of massive chest injuries. The reason why this one is so concerning to me is it points out that there are times when nobody does anything wrong, no matter how you write it down, and things can go very wrong. Nice horse, qualified rider, doing everything right, and circumstances conspired to create terrible tragedy. So we have to be aware that sometimes combination of bad luck, if you want to call it that, and bad circumstances can have an enormous cost when we're dealing with these horses. The next fellow is a guy that I'd ridden some horses for, started a few colts for. He was active in the show world. He had his own barn. He had, as I do, a concrete center aisle. I had to move him from one stall 12 feet to the next stall. Walked him out of the stall with a halter on with no lead rope. Horse hit the concrete. Something took his eye. He felt that restraint, pulled back, dumped my friend on his head from his own feet, not on the horse's back. Same scenario, terrible head injury combined with a spinal injury. Lived in the hospital for a more extended period of time, but did not make it home.
You don't even have to be riding them.
Where things we all do can have a terrible price. The final one is very much along the same lines of the lady who was killed in the horse accident with the yellow jackets. This gal was in her late 30s, good horsewoman, beautiful rider, rode nice horses, was riding a horse in a prepared arena, a broke horse, a good horse. Horse was doing nothing wrong. There was no disagreement going on. She asked the horse to strike off on a lope, and for some unknowable reason, the horse misstepped, wasn't injured, just misstepped, went forward, pitched this lady off. She too struck her head. She too lived a short time in the hospital.
I was concerned as soon as I got this 700-pound donkey that was 12 and a half hands. 12 and a half hands is like the very upper limit of a standard sized donkey, and any larger than that is considered a mammoth. And then horses are obviously usually bigger than that. I realized right away, well, I'm not going to be able to wear sandals this summer because this donkey weighs too much. It'll break my foot if it steps on it. I've been concerned since I almost died. That donkey bolted even after it was well trained, and it had been pulling my wagon for 2 weeks. It out of the blue bolted for no reason that I could tell, and I almost got sucked underneath her and underneath the wagon, and she could have totally destroyed the wagon. She could have hurt my sheep, but she bolted so fast that it snapped each of their leashes, their tethers off their neck, luckily, and yeah, took my body out from under my feet. I've been considering, what is a survival bug out animal? I mean, a lot of people in prepping circles discuss their bug out animals, and mostly are horses, and I just don't think that that is as smart anymore. I think that a survival animal by definition would have to not pose a threat of bodily harm to its owner in a post-apocalyptic situation, in addition, because a post-apocalyptic situation, shit in the fan, you're going to have a lot more bullets flying at you, you're going to have a lot more anxiety yourself, that it's going to transpose onto your horse's mind and be more apt to be spooked. I just don't think that people are having enough foresight. After I had my close call, I instantly started comparing that donkey to my ram's power, which my ram weighs 225 pounds, and with a halter on, I don't care how many of my ewes are in heat and how berserker his hormones are and how powerful he is, I can control him with a halter. With a collar, I can't. He can pull me and drag me easily with a collar, but with a halter, it's just enough for me to be able to hold him. He's a little bit different of an example. Rams are different. They have more testosterone ratio than any other animal. Their testicles are literally a larger ratio compared to their body than any other animal. So they produce a lot more testosterone and produce a lot more power. Having a female donkey that is 3 to 4 times my body weight, I'm guesstimating that I would feel absolutely comfortable, 100% comfortable, being able to control it with this wagon's weight combined with 2 brakes on the back wheels. I just think that it's important to for people who don't have a Quinn yet to be able to see the other side of the coin of that over-romanticization, and see some of the examples so that they can assess how big of an animal they think is actually desirable, because they're just such large animals that they're inherently dangerous, even without trying to be. When you're living with your animal, your Quinn, living around them 24/7, then there's a whole host of other possibilities of getting hurt, not just falling off of the horse. These are just some concerns that I've had lately, and these are some videos that I remember seeing lately, and I wanted to do a review. Hopefully it helps some other people in the future.